So there you see the current as the countdown continues. The flags are up, and we are now under 3 minutes to go at 2:10. Emirates Team New Zealand will enter on the left side of your screen. They get the 10-second advantage to get in there, and some might argue whether it's an advantage or not, Ken, but it's bottom line, it's for safety purposes.
It is for safety purposes, and again, this ebb current has really changed this pre-race strategy for these guys. This being able to enter the box early has allowed these guys to set up really low, what's called low in the box, away from the wind, as we see it pan out on the left side of our screen. The other boat has had a hard time matching that pushing, blocking. The guy who enters first is the blocker, and it seems to be advantaged.
So in a case of tic-tac-toe, Emirates Team New Zealand gets to put their X down first, and the Americans will have to respond, and then the strategy is on. So Dean Barker coming close to the line at 2:10. They have now entered into the start box, and we are set to go racing. Day number 8, race number 11.
Todd, I think the pressure is squarely on Oracle here. It's probably an understatement. Team New Zealand, if they think about this, they can sail pretty loose, really be aggressive in the start. If I were the Kiwis, I'd be super aggressive in this start, because you win the start, there's a reasonable chance you can go on to win the race.
One quick difference between the two boats, I noticed that the New Zealand jib, the forward sail, is larger in area than the American boat.
Well, we turn to the president of North Sales. Ken, do you think that's an advantage for the Kiwis, or the Americans got it wrong?
I think these guys know exactly what their boat needs. Both boats are different, probably different in how they're balanced, and I think we can't doubt that these guys have the correct jib up for the right condition, both of them. You know, Team New Zealand actually headed back for the start line a little earlier than I thought they would in this particular situation, but look for them to really protect down to the left side of their boat as Oracle approaches from behind.
Same as the other day.
I heard Ray Davies say, same as the other day. They're really going to protect that bottom lay line, that left side of the track here right now.
Trim. Get the height.
20 seconds to the line.
Big advantage Kiwis right now. They're both very firm on the wind right now, Gary.
New Zealand looking very strong, Ken.
The all clear has sounded, and the Kiwis will have the advantage at the line. Better positioning, and they are closer to mark number 1.
And they're just going to luff these guys right now. They're going to get them slow. Even though the starting gun is already gone, they're going to try to get them slow and really make a big gain once their speed's really parked. Great job by Dean Barker, really well thought out. Again, that port entry was the difference. They never relinquished being the blocker, in that starting sequence.
Actually, I think Spinhill did a good job hanging in there, being patient, and only being a length behind after that first start.
And now it's the drag race to mark number 1. Emirates Team New Zealand first to the circle. They'll make the left-hand turn with the Americans close behind. This is race number 11 on day number 8, and it's a 3-second advantage to the Kiwis.
You can see the differences in size of the jib. Notice the New Zealand jib is bigger.
And the Americans are the first to peel off.
You heard the tactician Ray Davies on board Emirates Team New Zealand say, we'll just drag this out a little bit longer. They're not worried about their air getting You know, the dirty air, disturbed air coming from Oracle. They're just going to look to spread it out a little bit here and start planning for later in the leg. Find the right time and the right breeze pressure to jibe in.
As New Zealand executes their first jibe, we go back and look at mark number 1, and we go back to the start, and this is where it all happened. How about this strategy? Basically just shutting the Americans down as the Kiwis pull in front.
And the Kiwis had to pull away at this stage. They couldn't wait any longer because they had actually just snuck forward enough to break the overlap. So Oracle actually got out of jail a little, kind of got out of jail free card there by the overlap being broken. Still, great job by Dean Barker.
And the call for the bear away as the Americans tried to get up to speed quickly, but you notice their holes really got dug down deep in the water.
Yeah, it's tough. Both of these boats have really narrow forward sections, but the Americans' really narrow bow section of their boat tends to dig in when they try to accelerate, but it didn't make much of a difference. They were up on the foils quick.
The lead is over 115 meters, so it's the Kiwis out in front. The Americans trying to close the gap. Remember, this is a 5-leg race. This is the first race scheduled on the day, and if Mother Nature cooperates, we'll have a second race in which the Kiwis, if they won this race, could wrap it up and take home the America's Cup. Dean Barker very happy with that jibe.
I noticed the American boat sailing a much slower course than the New Zealand boat, and they're gaining being able to do that.
Not much in this right now, Todd. You see, it's amazing, 2 boats going 38 knots. And there'd only be a meter here or there being gained or lost between the 2 boats. It just shows you how far this sport has come, how far this America's Cup has come.
40 seconds this way. Try and build if we can here. Yeah. 30 seconds.
And as they approach gate number 2, Gary Jobson, what do you see as far as tactics? Which way do you think the Kiwis will go when they look for a split?
Well, I think the Kiwis got to use the ebb current. It's going to be a little stronger out in the middle of the bay. I look for New Zealand to take the right gate, and on the opposite side, the USA to take the left gate.
I think the Kiwis have actually done a really nice job, Todd, kind of suckering Oracle off onto one side of the race course. What this is going to do is really potentially increase the possibilities of not having a split. And when you're the boat ahead, you don't want to split at this bottom gate. So you want both boats going around the same side. Now, just as I said that, I think we just heard Spithill say right turn down here. So maybe they're going to do a forced last-second turn. This is a really tough maneuver if you're Oracle Team USA.
And at mark number 2, the Kiwis head to the far gate, and the Americans do indeed split the course. So what was a 3-second lead at mark number 1, the Americans now trail by 6 seconds, but they've got their split.
But a really good rounding by Oracle. That's an incredibly hard maneuver on board these boats. Grinding hydraulics, grinding sails, grinding dagger boards up and down, and they made it look very easy.
Yeah, that's too far away for Vander. Bring it up, Bill. Not that far off. Keep going, guys. Normal numbers. Nice and smooth.
And we have a lead change as the Americans have overtaken New Zealand here on leg number 3. The big question now is, can they make it stick?
But they're one tack behind. Now it's going to be this incredible contest of who starts getting the right-hand side again. If they're 2 even boats, could just be this dipping contest of who keeps trying to get starboard tack advantage.
Yeah.
As I look up the race course, I think the right side where New Zealand is, the wind is shifting in that direction toward Alcatraz Island. Better for New Zealand.
Yeah, stand by here.
This is all about whether Team New Zealand will have a 3 or so boat length lead. If they do, Todd, look for them to tack right in front of Oracle. If they don't, they're going to have to cross and start this whole dipping contest all over again. Crucial moment in the race early on, and they do a lead bow tack. Trying to keep starboard tack. They thought they were far enough ahead, and clearly they were. This is a great move by Emirates Team New Zealand.
And the Americans decide to tack away. But we've seen this play out before where the Kiwis basically are in control of this race.
But this is a little different than the last race because the Kiwis got to set this whole process up well over on the left side of the race course. They get to shorten the track here a little bit and possibly start bouncing Oracle off that left-hand boundary. Here they go. They're going to go right back at him.
3, 2, 1, tacking.
A simultaneous tack from both the Americans and New Zealand. This is leg 3 of 5, race number 11. The Kiwis need 2 more wins, and the cup is theirs.
And those 2 tacks on both boats were just perfect tacks. Same setup here, Todd. This graphic shows that really the current is negligible at this stage. There is no real favored side. So let's see if the Kiwis keep trying to bounce these guys the other way. And I'm very surprised they don't. Gary, they don't bounce them over to the short side of the track. What do you think?
Well, I think it's a mistake. I would tack right on them and keep pushing them left. The thing is, the wind is lighter down where they are right now, and that bigger jib that New Zealand has is helping them go through these maneuvers.
God, I'm really surprised they didn't just continue that bouncing contest and keep, by bouncing, I mean tacking on top of the other boat and pushing them to the short side of the racetrack.
Well, still a good move by Oracle to keep the tack going. Their strategy is to stay in the middle of the course. Oracle's doing that.
Tack seem okay compared to them. No problem. 20 seconds. 10. Standing by. 3, 2, 1, tacking.
And the Kiwis decide now is the time to tack with a lead of more than 100 meters, but it will shrink here on this maneuver. The Kiwis have the lead on leg number 3. The question is, can they hold on to it?
Keep going here, boys.
Emirates Team New Zealand with the lead on both the course and the scoreboard. Looking to wrap up the America's Cup today on day number 8. 2 more wins, and Dean Barker and company are taking home the cup back to Auckland.
One, tacking, a little out of here. Wider. Okay. Big tag. Going well here, boys.
Halfway through leg number 3, Todd Harris, Gary Jobson, Ken Reed. The Emirates Team New Zealand boat has the lead by about 118 meters over Team USA. The Americans trying to find a sweet spot on this course, but right now the Kiwis are firmly in control of this race and dictating pretty much where the Americans are going.
2, 1.
Both boats are working on the left-hand side of the race course so hard. You got to believe that they see something out there, Gary, that they believe to be favored on this left side.
Yeah, the reason, Ken, they're working that left side is the ebb is started first. It's a little stronger right along the shoreline than it is out in the middle.
For a while, give ourselves room. Tom. Sorry? Oh, we're going to go straight here for a while. Yeah. Open up the boundary. Missing a bit of immersion here, boys.
That's the voice, Todd, of tactician Ben Ainsley saying we got to go straight here for a little while.
The current does look better on the left side of the course, Kenny.
Nice left-hander here.
What? Tacking, get pretty short on the spot.
Left-hander, the wind's coming from the side, right from the land. That will help New Zealand.
Todd, we aren't seeing either boat with any sort of real speed advantage here right now. This is a tactician's race as much as any other race we've seen in this event.
Names you need to know there. Ben Ainsley acting as tactician for Oracle Team USA, and the man with the 10 on his helmet. Then it's Ray Davies, the 41-year-old from New Zealand, is Dean Barker's tactician for Emirates. And the Americans going to that right side of the course are starting to close the gap, now within 60 meters.
On the bow and then tack. A little bit further. Good move. High out, slower, good move. I think we keep this going.
And there you see just how close it is with the Americans actually sailing a little bit faster, almost a full knot faster.
And they just popped up on their foils. It's just incredible speeds. These boats started this at the beginning of the week going 22, 23 knots upwind. Here they go in 28 or 29. And here's Oracle coming back at these guys. They're out in the middle of the race course. They'll start stirring it up again.
Setting into a lockdown here, Nino. Okay, setting up into a lockdown.
New Zealand's going to keep their starboard advantage by continuing on here a couple lengths.
And the Kiwis decide now is the time to tack. And Ken, in this kind of close racing, as the Americans tack right back and look for the cross, how much can you steal from their boat and their call?
Well, I don't think we've ever seen such a tight tacking contest, an actual tacking duel, ever in catamarans. It shows how equal these boats actually are.
Kenny, as the boats work their way up to the windward mark, the wind is actually increasing up here, which will favor the boat ahead.
Todd, they're going to start looking to minimize maneuvers here. If Team New Zealand can just do one more tacking in, they'll probably do that and take the right-hand gate as we look out towards the Golden Gate Bridge, the right-hand mark.
All right, looking to leg number 4, which side of the course would you want to be on?
Well, you get starboard tack advantage like we saw the other day. You round that right-hand gate. If the boats were ever close and they came together on the first crossing on the run, New Zealand would have the advantage.
Now you want to stay away from the land going downwind on leg 4.
So the Kiwis take it all the way to the lay line on the left side of the course. We'll see if they can take it in all the way. And Jimmy Spithill and company look like they are set up as well.
Todd, that was not Oracle's best tack right there. They got down to 10 knots in that tack. They didn't pop that weather hull out of the water real quickly, and that cost them a little bit of time. New Zealand did a really nice job, Gary, at the top of this leg.
Yeah, he's across on leg line.
Very close cross here, but New Zealand looking good.
At mark number 3, the Kiwis, who had a 3-second lead at mark 1, a 6-second lead at mark number 2, and they will continue to pad that lead. This time it will be into the double digits as the Americans come through at gate number 3 and make the turn for home. They are now trailing Emirates Team New Zealand by 17 seconds.
Pressure here. guys, set up. We're gonna run out of this thing.
Oracle Team USA got into a tacking duel on leg number 3, and unfortunately for the Americans, it did not go their way. Emirates, who had been closed down by 25 meters to the Americans, now have a sizable lead of almost 200 meters. Perfect example of how one mistake can cost you a race. Oracle Team USA, Ken, had one bad tact on that upwind leg, and now they find themselves, just moments ago, they were 25 meters behind the Kiwis, and there you see the lead, almost 300 meters.
But it was also the setup. They had to do one extra tack, Todd. I think that was even more important. Team New Zealand did a really nice job of bouncing them one additional time, of setting up that they only had to do one tack into that weather gate compared to Oracle's 2 tacks into the weather gate. That's the advantage that the boat ahead has if they play their cards correctly.
And a quick shot there of Ray Davies, the tactician for Emirates Team New Zealand, calling the race for Dean Barker, the skipper and helmsman.
As we said on leg number 1, the smallest differences in boat speed means it turns into a tactician's race. Obviously, Ray Davies, it was getting tight at that top mark. He nailed it, making Oracle do 2 jives. We'll know how nervous Team New Zealand here is in a second if they do 2 jives just to get over in front of Oracle. They seem pretty comfortable out there, though, right now, Todd.
And while we have a moment, we go on the water. Gary Jobson for more on the measurement configurations.
You know, I'm just looking at these 2 boats. They sailed right by us. And it seems to me that Oracle might have changed their boat to make it a little bit better for lighter winds, which were forecasted. Now the wind is up, and they might have slowed themselves down relative to New Zealand for these stronger winds.
They have closed the gap, which was over 300 meters. It is now just over 200 meters. So the Americans are gaining, but Ken, are they just going to run out of real estate here on the San Francisco Bay?
But they are gaining. They're sailing a lower angle out here. It looks to be a fairly dramatic wind shift, actually. They're sailing a lower angle all the time than Emirates Team New Zealand, staying parallel to that boundary. It's a very different course right now. The 2 of them are sailing. If I were on Emirates Team New Zealand, I'd be getting a little nervous.
I mean, Ken, this is the classic case where you simply want to cover. You have a 300-meter lead. New Zealand should have just jived over and stayed in front. Now the race is almost even.
They have cut it in half. Gary Jobson, as you pointed out, what was a 300-meter lead is now down to 153-meter lead.
Right now, Oracle's actually laying this gate, and Team New Zealand has to do 2 jives. They're going to come together. This is going to be pretty close.
And just to translate that, Kenny, are the Americans looking at going straight into mark number 4 without any more jives?
Well, in a perfect world they are, but this is the defining moment in the race. Not just a boat handling moment, but can Team New Zealand get across and plant themselves in front of Oracle?
20 seconds to lane. Come on.
New Zealand has a good chance to jive and block the wind of Oracle Team USA. So New Zealand is in the driver's seat.
I don't think Oracle's laying this gate right now, Gary, anyway. They've gotten lifted a little bit as the 2 boats have come together.
3, 2, 1, driving. Yeah, one down, that's cleaning.
His drive's okay, he's clear ahead.
It's now under 100 meters, the lead for the Kiwis.
The little pressure showing on New Zealand there. That wasn't their best jive. Still a little loose on after the jive. Both boats are going to have to soak to get around this mark.
Soak, sail a lower course.
Thank you.
At mark number 4, the race is on. The Kiwis have relinquished a huge lead that was over 300 meters, and now it's down to about 85 meters, but just one leg to go as the Americans are close behind.
Both boats got really slow there. They ended up overstanding the mark, being slightly upwind of the mark, but it doesn't seem to matter. New Zealand is in dominant position again.
On board Oracle, Team USA as they make the mark 18 seconds behind.
I think that look on Jimmy Spittle's face told the entire story.
The body language there, it was a great last-second gasp. You look like they closed it, and it almost seemed like Emirates Team New Zealand, Kenny, gave them the opening. As you pointed out, not their best jibe in this regatta.
Surprising, but talk about being under pressure. They got the they got the America's Cup peeking around the corner right now. It just wasn't their best jibe. They need to be a little smoother in those tough, tight spots, but just enough to stay ahead.
You know, Kenny, if that wind had stayed the same direction for Oracle Team USA for about 30 more seconds, they would have been exactly even. The wind did them in.
Day number 8, race number 11 belongs to Emirates Team New Zealand. The Kiwis now just one win away from the America's Cup. Americans with a fantastic third and fourth leg. It just wasn't to be. As Gary pointed out, the wind did them in, and they just didn't have enough pressure to catch them.